Okay, under agenda item 5, Councillor Shoemaker is still not in the room. Councillor Gardy, can I put you? I have a motion by Councillors Nero and Gardy, resolved that the agenda for May 24, 2022 City Council meeting as presented be approved.
All in favor? Carried.
And under agenda item 6, proclamations and presentations. Item 6.1 is Hydrocephalus and Spina Bifida Awareness Month.
Before I read this proclamation, I just want to recognize the really good work and dedication of Troy and Annette Chandler, who have been doing this work for a number of years. I want to thank them for their contribution to the community. It's been great working with them. Whereas hydrocephalus is an excessive amount of fluid in the brain that may be present at birth or may develop at any stage later in life. Whereas there's no cure for either of these conditions that result in varying degrees of disability. Where spina bifida is a birth defect that develops within the first 4 weeks of pregnancy, resulting in varying degrees of permanent neurological damage. Whereas Hydrocephalus Canada serves people with spina bifida and hydrocephalus, their families, and their public. Whereas Health Canada has proclaimed June as Spina Bifida and Hydrocephalus Awareness Month, whereas many people are not aware of the association of the that offer support, information, education, programming, and funds to research to prevent and treat these conditions. Whereas Hydrocephalus Canada encourages all Ontarians to learn about these conditions and to appreciate the challenges faced by individuals affected. It highlights the importance of menstrual equity and public education that advocates for equitable access to proper menstrual hygiene. Whereas the day raises awareness about the challenges that women, girls, and gender diverse people experience due to menstruation. It also highlights the importance of menstrual hygiene. Whereas it is a time to speak positively about periods and help end the stigma around them while understanding the need for equity, including providing marginalized communities with access to free menstrual hygiene products that reduce period poverty in our community. And through open dialogue, we can work to promote equitable access to hygiene needs and products. Now, therefore, I, Christian Provenzano, as Mayor of the City of Sault Ste. Marie, do hereby proclaim May 28th, 2022 as Menstrual Health Day in Sault Ste. Marie. Encourage support of organizations and individuals committed to raising awareness about the needs of the community through education to ensure the health and well-being of our community is improved.
Under agenda item 6.4, National Deaf Blind Awareness Month.
Whereas deaf blindness is a unique disability that incorporates the loss of both sight and hearing, individuals who are deafblind can live full, meaningful lives as independent as possible with the right supports in place, such as intervener services. And whereas National Deafblind Awareness Committee support community partners and individuals who are deafblind to increase their independence and improve their quality of life through specialized services. Whereas everyone is encouraged to help promote deafblindness by attending an awareness event proclaiming June as National Deafblind Awareness Month in our community and checking out the calendar of events at www.deafblindnetwork Ontario. That includes flag raisings and lighting up of local landmarks in communities across Canada. Whereas June should be designated as National Deafblind Awareness Month to recognize and celebrate the contributions who are deafblind making in their communities with the support of interveners who serve as a bridge to communication for individuals who are deafblind. Now, therefore, I, Christian Provenzano, as Mayor of the City of Sault Ste. Marie, do hereby proclaim June 2022 as Deafblind Awareness Month.
And under agenda item 6.5, Recreation and Parks Month.
Whereas in Sault Ste. Marie, we are fortunate to have a variety of parks and recreation systems providing countless opportunities to residents and visitors. Whereas recreation enhances quality of life, balanced living, and lifelong learning, helping people live happier and longer. Whereas parks, open space, and trails provide active and passive outdoor recreational opportunities, help maintain clean air and water, and promote stewardship of the natural environment. Whereas recreation therapy, recreation, and leisure activities are essential to the rehabilitation of many individuals. Whereas the benefits provided by recreational programming in parks are numerous and significant. All levels of government, the voluntary sector, and private enterprises throughout the province participate in the planning, development, and operation of recreation parks, programs, services, and facilities. Therefore, I, Christian Provenzano, as mayor of the city of Sault Ste. Marie, do hereby designate the month of June, which witnesses the greening of Ontario and serves as a significant gateway to family activities, has been designated as Recreation and Parks Month, which will annually recognize and celebrate the benefits from quality public and private recreation and parks resources at the local, regional, and provincial levels.
And agenda item 6.6, PUC Smart Grid. Robert Brewer, President and CEO, and Kevin Bell, Vice President, Business Development, are in attendance virtually.
Welcome to council, Mr. Brewer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Happy to get an update on Smart Grid, and floor is yours.
Thank you. So thank you to council for giving us the opportunity today to meet with you to update you on the Sault Smart Grid project. This is a very exciting project for PUC. So I'm joined today by Jairus Patterson, who's our communications coordinator, and Kevin Bell, who's our Vice President, Business Development. Kevin is also our executive lead on the Smart Grid project. So for PUC, 2020 is a transformational year. We are currently in the environmental assessment phase of our large transmission project for PUC Transco. We are expanding our water main lining company, Watertight Lining Solutions, and we're starting construction on our $34 million Smart Grid investment to our distribution system for PUC distribution. In early 2021, the Ontario Energy Board approved PUC's application to build the Sault Smart Grid, or SSG, and this project is the largest project that PUC has undertaken to date, and is one that will position PUC and Sault Ste. Marie as a leader in smart electrical distribution technology and as the first community-wide smart grid in Canada. So SSG as a concept has been in discussions at PUC now for almost a decade. And shortly after the project was approved, PUC came here to council to get final authorization to start work on the project. And we committed at that time to provide updates along the project journey. And so today is one of those updates. So to start, we thought it might be helpful to go over what the Sault Smart Grid is. Next slide, please. So the Sault Smart Grid is a system of smart sensors, devices, equipment, and software that provides real-time automation and decision-making into the grid. And there are two main areas that the project concentrates on. The first is voltage optimization, whereby the system controls and optimizes the voltage that's delivered to consumers. And by providing greater control, we are able to narrow the voltage band that's delivered to customers and reduce the energy that's consumed. And that saves customers energy. Distribution automation, on the other hand, provides self-healing capabilities to the grid, allowing the impacts of outages to be minimized and creating greater reliability to the system. So turning to the benefits to the customer on the next slide. On average, customers will see energy savings of approximately 2.7%, and customers will see a significant increase in reliability, and we'll see a reduction in the frequency and the duration of outages. And when there are outages, customers will see better data reporting through a new outage management system, and will have greater insight into when restoration will occur. And finally, by reducing the amount of energy that's consumed, there will be a corresponding decrease in the amount of carbon dioxide produced. So when fully implemented, SSG will result in carbon emission savings of approximately 2,800 tons annually. Next slide. SSG benefited from a significant funding award from Natural Resources Canada, and that funding has allowed the project to proceed on a bill-neutral basis. And that was one of the conditions that the PUC board had set for proceeding. The project is expected to be substantially completed by the end of 2022, with final commissioning in the first quarter of 2023. Now, over the past year, PUC has selected an EPC contractor, and both the EPC and PUC have been hard at work putting together the design and the construction plans. And we're starting the construction phase now. On the next slide, you'll see the timeline to date. So the project was approved in early 2021 by the Ontario Energy Board. The EPC contract was awarded to Overland Contracting Canada, which is a Black & Veatch subsidiary. And design and procurement has been ongoing since last June. The SCADA upgrade started this past February, and the detailed designs for construction were completed in March and April of 2022. On the next slide, you'll see that we are just starting the construction work at the substations, and that will continue for most of 2022. We'll also be starting the line work in July, and we'll expect to have things energized by the end of the year. So in the first quarter of 2023, we'll do the commissioning and optimization of the system. And in terms of visibility, you'll start to notice some construction starting at our substations, and you'll see some significant line work commencing this summer. So in addition to the benefits to the customers that we described earlier, the utility will benefit from several upgraded substations and from greater real-time insight into our system. This is a transformational project for PUC and one that we're proud to be leading with. And with that, I think we're happy to take any questions you might have.
Okay, council, do we have any questions for Mr. Brewer? Rob, I see none. I want to thank you both for attending our meeting. It's a great project. I think it's a symptom of a function of the fact that it's been before us a number of time, and we're all very familiar with it and all very supportive of it. And often when something gets to council that everybody's really excited about and doesn't have any questions on, that's a good sign. So you still have council's overwhelming support. And I look forward to this project as it moves forward. I think it's going to be a really great and positive development for our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you for
the update. That brings us to consent, Madam Clerk.
That will take us to consent. And I just say that agenda item 7.20, the rental housing incentive program 2-year extension, is in fact under the Planning Act. So it will be accepted from consent and discussed under planning.
Okay, so 7.2 is what's accepted? What number is accepted?
7.20.
7.20. Okay. Okay, so the consent matters. Councilor Nero.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item is agenda item 7.6, the Northern Avenue Sackville intersection, and just a comment on that one, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
You may.
Just a thank you to staff for the positive crossing guard recommendation. Sure, the parents are going to be happy when they find out about this one. It is a very busy intersection.
Anybody else in 7.6? Nope. Anything else, Councilor Nero?
Agenda item 7.14, biosolids management plan.
Go ahead.
I have a question for who is Mr. Rumio?
Go ahead. We've got Carl on the screen there,
Okay.
and he'll redirect it if need be.
Mr. Rumil, according to the report, I believe it said that the range of source separated organics would be in the vicinity of 4,000 tons per year. The report also says that we may require a third rollout bin or one that has separations for SSOs and other solid waste. I'm just wondering, I didn't see the number in the report, but how much is the total residential waste stream that's picked up weekly or annually, I guess I should say?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Nero, I'd have to check back and get back to you on that. I don't have those numbers.
Okay. I asked the question, I'm just wondering, because when we look at the items that are covered by the source separated items, there's not much left. I mean, I'm just wondering, do other municipalities actually eliminate the waste receptacle that they use now? Once you separate recyclables and once you separate source separated organics, I mean, what are we picking up?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Nero, Certainly that's the idea with waste diversion, is to divert as much as possible to other streams like recycling, and with uneaten foods and peelings and table scraps, that type of stuff. That's the idea, to get that number of tons that are just going directly to the landfill down. There's will still be stuff, but there'll be further information and direction as the study works through to completion, as well as other information coming down from the province on what things will look like in 2025.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Rumil. I'll leave that until the subsequent report comes back.
Okay, anybody on 7.14? Councilor Nero?
That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody else with matters on consent? Councilor Shoemaker?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 7.5, downtown trolley, through you to either Mr. Bear or Mr. Lamming.
Go ahead.
Mr. Bear, thanks for the report. I think the request or the recommendation makes sense, but can you just confirm, perhaps for those who aren't quite as familiar with how we've gotten here and the work that went into this report, can you confirm that the downtown trolley idea is still alive and not dead?
Yes, through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Shoemaker, that is correct. Still alive and well. We had significant meetings with the trolley task force, our working group, and we looked at a number of issues, looking at the route of the downtown trolley. We explored different funding options for the trolley. There was a request for information conducted, and ultimately where we landed, given the planned work for Queen Street in 2023, was to hold off bringing a recommendation and advancing the project this year, but to do that next year in collaboration with the stakeholders as well as Tourism Sault Ste. Marie.
So it's if I can put it at a very high level, it's ready to go. It just doesn't make sense to do it right now. So we're going to put it out for RFP, I suppose, if that's agreeable to the next council next fall.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Shoemaker, that's correct. We'll bring a report back to council next year, and things may change between now and then in terms of pricing or ideas. So we'll be able to bring a more current report to council next year, and then have the next council make a decision on that project.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else in 7.5? Anything else, Councilor Shoemaker?
That is all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We're going to go with Councilor Hollingsworth and then to you, Councilor Christian. Councilor Hollingsworth?
Thank you. Item 7.1, Halloween Spirit Award. I just have a comment.
Go ahead.
I just want to say to the staff, thank you for basically working on this particular resolution. And I feel strongly that this is going to bring some more good family time in our community. And so just well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for, this was one of your brainchild, so thank you for that contribution. Anybody else in 7.1? Seeing none. Do you have anything else on consent, Councilor Hollingsworth? Councilor Christian?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to highlight 7.21 Cora Relay for Life. Just a shout out to the Cora family and mention it to the general public that on June the 9th and the morning of June the 10th, Cora will be holding their annual Relay for Life. I just wish them all the best, and I encourage the general public, if they can, to go down and support those participating for that worthy cause. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Dufour. Assuming that was it on consent, Councilor Christian. Councilor Dufour.
7.15, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if Ms. Tato is around or if this goes to Mr. Rumil. Just wanted to know, do we have an approximate timeline for the Mcdonald Avenue drainage improvements to be fully in service? Like, is this something that's going to be done this summer, or are we looking into the fall?
Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Dufour, no, this is on the to be completed this summer, and some of the work that's happening in this actual stormwater management pond, which is in the ravine lands behind Allworth Place, towards Ontario, or towards the armories. would be possibly moving on, carrying on through the later part of the year, pushing into winter maybe, but it's be off-road work. It is intended to be done in 2022.
Sorry, I just want to ask council, did you hear that? Because I found it a little inaudible. Was it clear to council? If you could please repeat the answer, Mr. Rumio, it was hard to hear you.
Sorry about that. The intention is fully to get the project completed in 2022. Certainly there may be some work that pushes on into December, which would be down in the ravine land, the area off-road, but work should be done this year.
Okay, is there a plan, Mr. Rumio? No, I believe this is the third step in some of these Mcdonald Avenue drainage improvements. What's the plan for monitoring the success of these interventions going forward into the future?
Monitoring would be just through the less recurring flooding events and flooding up driveways and onto private property.
Okay. This does mean the conclusion of the EA then for that whole project. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, to council do for yes.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Anybody else in 715? Seeing none. Councilors, do you have anything else on the consent agenda? Madam Clerk.
I have a motion by councillors Bruni and Shoemaker, resolved that all the items listed under date May 24, 2022, agenda item 7, consent agenda, save and accept agenda item 7.20 be approved as recommended.
All in favor? Carried. So 7.2, Madam Clerk, has to be dealt with under planning.
Under planning, that's correct.
So that will bring us to motions, I believe. And we have one.
Yes, we do.
9.1, Councillor Christian's motion.
So motion by councillors Christian and Hollingsworth, whereas group homes play an important role in providing care and treatment for their clients. And whereas these homes are staffed by trained professionals who deal with clients on an ongoing basis. And whereas group home staff are faced with challenging situations that from time to time require external support from municipal emergency services. And whereas these situations will occasionally disrupt the day-to-day lives of local residents and create occasional safety concerns for both clients and neighbors alike. And whereas some municipalities in Ontario have bylaws that create a minimum distance between group homes in an attempt to mitigate these situations, now therefore be it resolved that staff be requested to create a bylaw that recognizes the need for group homes in our community and also establishes a buffer between them. Further be it resolved that staff model the bylaw after the bylaw established in Burlington, Ontario, and similar municipalities.
Councillor Christian, do you want to speak to this? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. A few weeks ago, I was invited by the Queensgate Boulevard residents in the vicinity of those group homes to attend a meeting. There were about 20 of them there, and we were just standing outside. And the reason why they wanted to meet with me was to explain the situation that they're currently facing, and quite frankly, been facing for a couple of years now. In the resolution, it says that there are 2 group homes on the street, and they're virtually one home apart. There's one private residence between the 2 group homes. So they asked, they wanted to fill me in on some of the challenges they've had, and they also wanted me to bring forward a resolution asking for a bylaw. While I was there, several of them shared their stories, and subsequent to that, they forwarded letters to me that I have in my own file. But if you'll indulge me, I just, to put some context behind the resolution, I just want to share some of the incidences these people are dealing with. For one, there's the constant presence of emergency vehicles, particularly police. I just received a report, or a letter rather, from one of the residents on City Police letterhead, and they confirmed that there were 229 police visits since October of 2020 in that neighborhood. These residents have witnessed clients verbally and physically attacking care staff. I tip my hat to the care staff there. They have a very, very difficult job. This is no slight on their part. It's just the nature of what they're dealing with. Clients attempting to enter private homes, for whatever reason, they're outside. I don't know if they're trying to get away from staff or just have some time to themselves, but residents have witnessed these clients knocking on doors, trying to get in. There's trespassing issues. The staff of the group homes are parking on the street, which limits the ability for city services to provide their services, whether it's snow plowing or garbage collection. One resident claimed that several rather, said they witnessed a client of the group home lying in the middle of the street. On January 2022 at 1:30 in the morning, there were 3 police cruisers outside, woke up the neighbor. They were combing the area looking for one of the clients, woke up the neighborhood. The next day, staff of the group home were out. And according to the residents, the group home staff told them that they were attempting to find a stash of drugs that they presumed was on the premises. So, I mean, these aren't fabricated, these aren't opinions. These are the facts as the neighborhood sees them. And they made it very clear to me that they understand the importance of the group homes and the role that they play for their clients. But having 2 of them in such close proximity, it just exacerbates a very, very difficult situation when you're dealing with group homes. I mean, I can't imagine how difficult it is for a parent trying to raise a child who in the last 2 years have seen at least 230 police cruisers on the street, along with some of the behavior of the clients of these group homes. It wouldn't be a nice situation for anybody involved. I mean, it's fair to say that the group homes are a part of our community. I think we'd all take responsibility. Should one be located on our street? But I think it's a little unusual to have 2 of them on one street. I think, you know, in fairness, I think that's something that could be shared. And I think that this group of individuals, these residents are carrying most of the load here. So it's just creating an unfair, inequitable hardship for these people. Again, they feel for the residents, they understand the importance of it, but it's just an unusual situation. So these people, they're not asking to ban group homes. They're not trying to limit group homes. Rather, they're asking staff to create a bylaw similar to the one that's used in Burlington that creates a minimum 400-meter buffer between the group homes so that these situations are minimized. And really, I think in fairness, I agree with them. I think it's a balanced approach for dealing with something like this. I'm asking city councilors to put themselves in their shoes and also to consider how you might approach it if you had similar residents in your ward. How would you deal with it? So I realize it's a touchy subject. We recognize the importance of group homes, but there has to be a fairer way to deal with these situations. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Christian. Before we get to comments and questions from councilors, I'm just going to make my own here because I think it's important to make a distinction. First off, I want to commend you, Councilor Christian, for your representations on behalf of the residents that live in Ward 1. You're very, strong and conscientious city councilor. I know you're always, you care about what the people in your ward think. The challenge that I would have with this is that I feel like we're skipping a step, in that it's hard for council to ask staff to return a bylaw without, more context. And we rarely go from a motion to a bylaw. What we often do is we ask staff to return a report on a bylaw, whether a bylaw is advisable, challenges with passing a bylaw, and then council can make an educated decision on whether or not they would support a bylaw, not based on your motion, but based on the information that staff gives them. From my perspective, this motion's getting into a significant legal issue. And when we're ever getting into a legal issue, particularly legal issues that relate to human rights. I think we're well advised to do that based on the fullness of all of the information that we can make available to us. So I couldn't support your motion as it is, but if your motion was amended to ask staff to return to return a report about a bylaw and passing a bylaw, I could support that, because that's something then council would have a fulsome discussion about. So I wanted to put that on the record, and with that noted, maybe if some of my fellow councilors had those concerns, we could get to that point more quickly. Councillor Nero, and then I have Councillor Hollings. Wait, you know what? Sorry, Councillor Nero. I should let Councillor Hollings speak to it because she was the seconder of the motion. And then I'll get to Councillor Nero, then I have Councillor Shoemaker also.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I just want to emphasize and commend my ward mate, Councillor Paul Christian, for bringing this to the table. And as the mayor has just outlined, there are some very gray areas that we do need to understand. I wish I was there also part of the meeting, but I was at the Phenom conference and Phenom board meeting representing the city of Sault Ste. Marie, and hence I could not be with my constituents. As my councillor May has said, and most other councillors around this table, we do want to make sure that our councillors, or I should say constituents, are properly represented whenever there is a concern, especially when there's a group of people that are concerned. We do our best to bring it to this table. And that's what Councillor Christian has done, and myself. So we are here to be the voice. So again, thank you, Mayor, for those comments. And I believe that we may have jumped quickly, and I think there's a little bit more research and information we need to gather. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Hollingsworth. So we'll go to Councillor Nero, then Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly understand the reasons for the motion coming forward, and I certainly understand what we heard from Councillor Christians to be valid reasons to have a bylaw. But for all the reasons that you have already mentioned, I'm not going to repeat them all. I find myself in the same situation. I think it would be prudent to have the report first on the bylaw, and then we can look at it then. Thank you.
Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was only going to ask that if the mover and seconder would consider amending it to ask for a report instead of a bylaw. So you captured my thoughts as well.
And Councillor Dufour.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just a comment. I've shared this as well with Councillor Christian, but I've had similar issues that I've also dealt with my constituents in Ward 2. And one of the things that I wanted to highlight for council and perhaps for staff as they bring us back a report is that not all of these homes are created equal. We have a number of different types of homes in Sault Ste. Marie that are offered, and some of them are for-profit social services agencies who, if they are relying on city services and not funding the services that they offer properly, that to me represents a different slate of concerns than, let's say a nonprofit like CMHA runs all of our mental health care beds, right outside of my property. That to me is a different type of situation than other ones that we've dealt with, where I think you do have certain classes of operators that are maybe their business model is different than others. So I guess I would just caution council, I definitely support going to a report first, because there's many different ways to thread this bylaw, and it's a really important one to get right, because we want to see these types of services offered in our community, but also offered in a way that's properly funded to ensure that the surrounding impacts to neighboring residents are minimized.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the mover then and the seconder. Are you, to Councillor Shoemaker's point, are you friendly to amending your motion so that you're asking a report to be returned to council considering a bylaw as opposed to a bylaw?
Before I answer that, I should have mentioned that Councillor Hollingsworth was more than generous to second the motion. I forgot to mention her in my spiel, so my apologies. For my part, I'm willing to ask for a report if it means or at least getting this resolution or this bylaw on the table at some point.
Okay, Councillor Hollingsworth. Okay, so I think the second last paragraph of the motion would be amended to say, now therefore be resolved that staff be requested to return a report to council at its next council meeting, Mr. Clerk, Mr. CEO, advising council on the,
So if I amended the operative, therefore be it resolved that staff be requested to research the creation of a bylaw that recognizes the need for group homes in our community and establishes a buffer between them, and report back to council on June 13, 2022.
you comfortable with that, Councillor Christian? Yep. You comfortable with that, Councillor Hollingsworth? Mr. CEO, is that clear for recommendation for staff? And then the last paragraph be deleted, yeah, correct. Okay, council, do we have any questions? Okay, so that is up on your e-scribe now. All in favor? Motion is carried.
Councillor Gardy? I lost you. Yeah. Ooh, did you want to go to bylaws then?
Yep.
So I have a motion by councillors Bruni and Shoemaker, resolved that all bylaws under item 12 of the agenda under date May 24, 2022, save and accept bylaws 2022-94, 2022-95, and 2022-96 be approved.
All in favor?
And those three are separated as a result of conflicts. So I do need a seconder for Councillor Hollingsworth. So resolved that bylaw 2022-94 being a bylaw to adopt amendment number 238 to the official plan for the city of Sault Ste. Marie, southerly 74 meters of 522 Allen Side Road be passed in open council this 24th day of May 2022. And that is open.
All in favor? Motion carried.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Council, we're going to do our closed session between now and the planning agenda and then come back for the planning agenda.
Do you want to do the, I've got two more of on that Allen Side Road that were separated. Do you want to do those first? And
Yeah,
then we'll
sure.
go to close? Councillor Hollingsworth, can I put you on both of those as well? Thank you. So resolved that bylaw 2022-95 being a bylaw to amend Sault Ste. Marie zoning bylaws 2005-150 and 2005-151 concerning lands located at the southerly 74 meters of 522 Allen Side Road be passed in open council this 24th day of May 2022.
All in favor? Carried.
Councillor Scott,
He was in favor.
and there's just one more in that bundle. Resolved that bylaw 2022-96 being a bylaw to designate the lands located at the southerly 74 meters of 522 Allen Side Road be passed in open council this 24th day of May 2022.
All in favor? Motion carried. Bylaw passed.
Councillor Gardy in the affirmative?
Yes.
And we've got a motion by councillors Nero and Shoemaker. Resolved that this council move into closed session to consider 3 items concerning the proposed disposition of property. Further be it resolved that should the said closed session be adjourned, the council may reconvene in closed session to discuss the same matter without the need for a further authorizing resolution.
All in favor? Carried.
And council will resume in open at 5:30 for planning.
That's correct. Starting our planning agenda now. We have the first applicants available to us, so welcome back, Madam Clerk, 8.7.
This is application A322 ZOP, 1035 Wellington Street East, 189 Upton Road and 185 Upton Road, the Zion Evangelical Lutheran Church. There's a motion by councillors Nero and Shoemaker, resolved that the report of the planner dated May 24, 2022 concerning official plan and rezoning application A322 ZOP be received, and that council approve official plan amendment 239 by way of a notwithstanding clause to permit up to 325 square meters of office space on the subject property. Rezone the subject property from single detached residential zone to single detached residential zone with a special exception to, in addition to the uses permitted in a single detached residential zone, permit up to 325 square meters of office space, reduce the landscape open space requirement from 30% to 25%, permit parking spaces to be located in a required exterior side yard within 50 meters of the southerly lot line, exempt the required 15 parking spaces associated with the office space from surface treatment requirements, and reduce the required number of barrier-free parking spaces from 2 to 0 for office space, and that the legal department be requested to prepare the necessary bylaws to effect the same. Elaine Brown and Kirsten Berche are on the call on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to start, Mr. McConnell, with you. Can you give the folks at home a short précis of this application, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. I think all of council is familiar with the Zion Lutheran Church on the corner of Wellington Street East and Upton Road. The request before council is for an official plan amendment and a rezoning to permit the existing church hall to be used for office space. This is office space that would not be in conjunction with the church. It would simply be commercial office space. It is being recommended by staff, as the city clerk mentioned, subject to several conditions. And both Elaine Brown and Kristen Berche are on the line tonight on behalf of the Zion Lutheran Church.
Thank you very much, Mr. McConnell. So we have two representatives of the applicants on in the meeting with us. Do either of you have any representations you want to make to council?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kirsten. I'm helping represent the church in this. I believe that everything is pretty straightforward. Without the without the rezoning, the church wouldn't really be able to continue keeping its doors open to the public. So we're really hoping that everyone is okay with the office space use. It'll be a day use for the office space from 9 to 5. And I think that's pretty well it.
Okay, council, do we have any questions for either the applicants or Mr. McConnell? So we'll start with Councilor Bezo-Allen.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to possibly the applicant or Mr. McConnell. This is just a constituent concern. Definitely not opposed to the rezoning, supportive of it, but wondering about the lighting for the parking lot. So there was concern that with the engineering office moving in, that they would add brighter spotlights to the parking area, which could be disruptive in the evening, as well as they were wondering about the exterior commercial signage, hoping that would be discreet and tasteful. So could you please answer those concerns?
Perhaps, Mr. Mayor, if I could. Staff did have a conversation with one of the neighbors who was quite clear he wasn't objecting. He simply had the same questions that Councillor Bezo-Allen has put forward. With regards to the signage, the only signage that would be permitted on this property is residential signage, which means to put up commercial signage will require a staff review and approval. So we will make sure that whatever signage is put up is very discreet and appropriate for the area. With regards to the lighting, we don't anticipate any more lighting being put up at this time. As the applicant did state, this is basically a 9 to 5 sort of operation. There are some lights there now, and we do have, as part of our zoning bylaw, we have regulations in place that prevent lights from shining directly onto a neighbor's property. So there would also be a review for that. But at this time, and we are not aware of any plans to increase the lighting on the site.
Thank you, Mr. McConnell.
Thank you, Councilor Bezoil. Any other questions from council? Mr. McConnell, maybe just if you can explain the reduction of the barrier-free parking spaces from 2 to 0, why that's necessary.
That was only for additional parking that would be required for the office space. The church hall does, or the church does require 4 barrier-free spaces, and those spaces will have to be paved in accordance with the bylaw.
Okay. There's lots of parking at that facility, and I imagine would be very available during the day in any event.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, council, if there's no more questions or comments, we can have a vote on that. It's been read. We'll have the vote called up. All in favor? So the application is approved. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Will bring us to 8.7.2, A522 ZOP, 865 Second Line East. It's a motion by councillors Nero and Shoemaker, resolved that the report of the planner dated May 24, 2022 concerning official plan and rezoning application A522 ZOP be received, and that council redesignate the northern 95 meters of 865 Second Line East from residential to commercial on land use schedule C by approving official plan amendment 240. Rezone the northern 95 meters of 865 Second Line East from general commercial zone to general commercial zone with a special exception to reduce the required landscape open space from 50% to 30% for the required exterior side yard only, and that the northern 95 meters of 865 Second Line East be deemed subject to site plan control as per section 41 of the Planning Act, and that the legal department be requested to prepare the necessary bylaws to effect the same. Chris Fries and Candy Johnson are on the call on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, before we get to the applicant, Mr. McConnell, can you give us a summary of this application, please?
Certainly. The subject property is on the southeast corner of Pine Street and Second Line. The request before council is for rezoning to permit the relocation of the Sioux Auto business to this site. Will involve constructing a new facility. The access to the site will be from Pine Street. Although the property has frontage on Second Line, the access will be from Pine Street. From a traffic viewpoint, that should work well. It is recommended for approval. And I see that Candy Johnson is on the line. She is the applicant on this application. And I would also be happy to answer any other questions council may have.
Ms. Johnson, did you want to make any representations with respect to the application?
Yeah, I'm online now. No, it's been covered quite well. If you have any questions, though, I'm available to answer.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Madam Deputy Clerk, my understanding on the last application, I should put that on the record, that there was nobody registered to speak in opposition to it.
Mr. Mayor. Oh, that's correct.
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
And on this application, I also understand we have nobody registered to speak in opposition to it.
That's correct.
Councilor, do you have any questions for either the applicant or for staff? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you for your time tonight, Ms. Johnson. The application is approved.
Thank you.
You are welcome. That brings us to 7.20, Madam Clerk.
Yes, and 7.20 is with respect to the rental housing incentive program 2-year extension to 2024, and it is in fact a bylaw as well.
So there's a bylaw. Council, do we have any questions for staff on that? Seeing none, all in favor? Bylaw is approved.
Just going to,
Call
it
it
was
up.
yeah, it was originally included on the consent. I'm going to separate it and cast it.
So council, you'll have to just indicate your support of the bylaw in e-scribe, please. And it's
and that is open for voting.
I think, Madam Clerk, that brings us to the end of our meeting for this evening.
It does indeed. So all I have is a motion for adjournment. Just a motion by Councilors Nero and Shoemaker, resolved that this council now adjourn.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you, council. We will see you in June.